We're here today continuing our conversation about Work Design Magazine's The Next Work Environment. And we've been having conversations with our jury members about what that next work environment might be. And one of the things that keeps coming up in these conversations has been more of a focus on people and their health. I think there's been a lot of concerns about safety. There's a tremendous amount of stress, uncertainty, lack of control, fear and risk that's now been part of the work environment. And I think our mental health is a concern. And so part of the premise of this competition is really going beyond our traditional ways of thinking, as designers, and including other disciplines, and looking at those that are closely related to the physical environment and trying to understand how we can better integrate those into the next work environment. So I'm really fortunate to be here today with Dr. Jorge Cherbosque. Dr. Cherbosque is a clinical and industrial psychologist. His vision and philosophy is oriented towards helping individuals and organizations move from what he calls the TGIF, thank God it's Friday, to TGIH, thank God I'm here. So Jorge, I'm really excited to have you be part of this conversation. Maybe if you could give us a little bit of insight as to your background and your current work.
Yes, thank you, Bob. It's just a pleasure to be here. So as you can hear by my accent, I was born and raised in Mexico City, and I think that's the foundation of the way I look at the world, my philosophy of life, my way of being. But also, I always say that if I could choose one person to be besides myself, it's Marco Polo. So I love to swim, to travel. I was a swimmer for Mexico, so I think a big element that distinguished me is my thirst for traveling and immersing myself in different cultures. So I took myself and lived in the Middle East, and where I went to school for many, many years before coming to the United States and establishing myself in Los Angeles. And a professor at the UCLA Anderson School and the director of the UCLA Staff and Faculty Counseling and Consultation Center, where we exactly do what you just said. We try to move people from thank God, it's Friday to thank God I'm here. The research shockingly tells us that only 1 out of 4 people after 3 years of working feel 70% of the time excited to be where they are. And I found that really very sad that 3 out of 4 can hardly wait for the day to end or for retirement. So what can we do to help people inject enthusiasm, passion, creativity, belonging? That's what I do.
That's great. That's great. As architects and designers, we're typically looking at the physical work environment. And, in your work, that's obviously very different. But I'm wondering, how do you integrate those two perspectives? What should our thought process be for that?
Yeah, in my work, I look at myself with a term that I develop in my emotional intelligence model. We call it social architecture. And I think I see myself as social architects, and you can see how, synergy there is between the physical architects and the social architects, They say that, everybody says that people are the essence of every company, are the psychological capital is everything, right? So it's about really then taking care, we're what I feel, the heart and soul of the organization. And we integrate, physical environment with psychological environment in a very synergistic way. We strive, to bring similar principles that I think you architects do. What are those? Connection between people is very important, So attunement. I think we psychologists work a lot to be attuned to what are the needs of the people, whether it's employees between themselves or their leaders, and you architects are all about attunement. It's trying to get the essence of what your clients are trying, what is the vision for them. So, we try to, those are very similar synergetic characteristics. I think motivation and inspiration is a big part of what we do, and you also architects strive for that. I think in this particular time, you talk about how stress, and it's so true. I think we live in a very stressful situation. And I think self-governance is something we put a lot of emphasis, and calmness. And I think you guys and architects are building more and more spaces where we can go to a roof garden and have a moment of really mindfulness, and spaces not only for connection, but also for self-governing, for calmness. I think it's very important. You talk about safety. I think definitely there is the physical safety, especially after COVID-19, and there is the psychological safety that I feel there are spaces very well designed where I can really protect myself. And that the sense that you as an architect took care of me so I can do my work in a sense of safety. I think the other aspect that also I deal with, I think it's also in synergy, what you do is human beings want to have a contribution, legacy. And I think more than any other professions, I really think architects also strive for legacy, to build things that kind of someone dreamed at one time. Well, human beings do that. And I think we spend a lot of time helping people, giving them self-efficacy so they can achieve their dreams and their legacy. And lastly, I really believe that this is not going to go without turbulence. So managing change and build resilience. And I think you architects deal with so many changes that, you know, as you build and practicality issues emerge. So how to navigate the human side of change? This is where I see myself, and that's where I see a lot of synergy between me and my profession and yours.
You know, you mentioned the mindfulness and, you know, the feeling safe. And, you know, if we go, you know, beyond, I think, the way that we normally think about the design process, are there things that we can do as designers or things that we should be thinking about that can help to enhance those qualities of the space?
Yeah, and I think in this regard, you know, positive psychology and neuroscience have, you know, a lot to contribute. We're just discovering a lot the connection between mind and soul and well-being. But I think tools to help us, you know, manage frustration and stress and to create these places for inspiration at work, that will be. I think the more you help us, you know, communicate. I think human beings need like air to communicate. If you think about it, after we eat, you know, and we go to the bathroom, the third big skill we need to master is to attach first to my mom, then to my dad, then I come home, they are siblings. And then through life, attachment, connections, I would think becomes the most important skill. We need to be right and effective in the way we deal with it. So, you know, how to even build trust, and enhance creativity. Those are things that I think you guys can help us in being even more productive.
You know, I think that we build these environments and, you know, we bring people in, you know, to experience them. You know, can the physical environment help shape our behavior, you know, for a healthy workplace?
Yeah, let me ask you one question, Bob. Where do you do your best thinking? Where do
Probably
you do?
when I'm either walking outside or laying in bed.
I'm telling you, I asked that question.
Most people will say in the shower.
You know, it's so fascinating because I work with a lot of CEOs of companies, big companies through, you know, Young President Organization. And I ask them that question. And I will tell you, not 5% of them, and of course I ask that to many of the people they work, tell me in my office. Everybody tells me when I am, whether it's in the shower or they tell me when I'm walking, many of them when I'm in the ocean, when I'm meditating, but nobody tells me when I'm in my desk in my office, really. So that's a real response to what you do. Why do we focus and build these spaces where people don't do their best, where we need to hear them and design things that emulate those environments and bring our best thinking?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. You know, when we talked before, you had talked about the 6 attributes of a healthy workplace. which I thought was fascinating. Can you walk through that and share those with us?
Yes, and we it goes back to my belief that really people need to have what I call unique ability. Unique ability is the intersection between our passion and our talents. People need to feel really excited to be them. And their research, really, this is based on research and positive psychology research that tells what are these characteristics that bring healthy individuals and healthy workplaces. And the first one is really, that we know from motivation theory. Daniel Pink, big researcher, tell us that you need to hire people who love what they do because there is an intrinsic value to get better, to do what you love. So people need to really feel like we choose them and we let them perform, what they do best. So I like to train. Nobody needs to motivate me. You like to design. It's fun to design. It's fun to train. So choose people who love what they do and then help them identify and encourage them, inspire them to achieve meaningful goals, have a sense of purpose in what they do and a vision. So that's one, vision, goals, sense of purpose. Second thing is really resilience. I will pay money. I have two daughters. If you tell me what is one skill I would pay for them, I would say resilience because I want them to take risks and some of them will pay off and some of them not. So coming stronger and wiser despite that is a characteristic of really, I think, healthy workplace and healthy individuals. The third thing that surprised me, but not much because I do see it in the CEOs I coach, is I think learning, desire to learn, to really get feedback that will and pushback that will make me see things in different way. And the thirst for learning is just another characteristic of healthy individuals and emotional intelligence individuals who are right and effective, what I said. I think definitely we talk already about but feeling inclusiveness, communication, connection, and we see there's a lot of turmoil in our society, a cry for inclusiveness and justice, and I think that's definitely is going to be a big part, how to create an environment and a corporate culture where people really see themselves in it and they feel heard, right? I think, when I ask people what they want from the workplace and what they want from their lives, fun and joy. I think we are playful individuals, so spaces and I think definitely, emotional intelligence individuals have a lot of creativity, fun, and play is part of it. And lastly, I think we need a leadership that can inspire these things in us, really, that new ways of leading. I always believe a leader is like the orchestra director. It doesn't make music at all. So it depends on the people they hire, and their job is just to bring the best out of them and make them do together.
No, that's great. I think with all this change, that leadership component is going to become even more important as we move forward.
Yes.
Jorge, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time and having this conversation and sharing your ideas. Thank you very much. It's been great having this conversation with you.
It's a total pleasure. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too. Take care, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.